Chelsea, hey, congratulations on your short narrative film out for
Mhm.
delivery.
Thank you so much.
More of a congratulations. It's actually being showcased at South by Southwest this year, one of the most prestigious film festivals in the world. In fact, I think it was also featured at Sundance, which is another prestigious film festival. How does this all feel for you?
I mean, it's crazy. Having a film premiere at Sundance is every filmmaker's wildest dream. And then to have a film screen at both Sundance and South by Southwest is something I didn't even think was possible. So I'm, still kind of pinching myself, trying to remind myself that this is happening and stay present through it. But it's an absolute honor, and and to be frank, like it's a lot of validation too. So I'm very grateful.
Well, it is possible, and that's a testament to your filmmaking. So
Mhm.
congratulations with that. So
Well, thank you.
let me ask that obligatory question. Where the original idea came from for Out for Delivery?
Yeah, so unfortunately, Out for Delivery is loosely inspired by true events.
Mhm.
I learned of a person who decided to pursue end of life care through Death with Dignity. And since the pandemic, they've now made this medication, very controlled but shippable. And in the true story, the shipping company lost the package completely, and it never made it to its destination. And customer service was extremely unhelpful and unempathetic. And when the story was relayed to me, I found myself laughing. I chuckled and I went, "Oh my God, this is the most tragic thing I've ever heard. Why am I laughing at this?" And so, as it sort of processed in my brain for a matter of weeks, months, I kind of realized that there was this like deep-seated frustration with convenience culture. And shipping, I feel like, is the most universal expression of that. I feel like we all deal with shipping mishaps these days, especially with, the advent of like Amazon Prime and all of these other things where we're like tracking our shipments and they get misdelivered or they get tossed over our gates unceremoniously, and finding that like universal feeling that can be expressed in its most extreme way through something like life ending care um felt like an interesting way of exploring that sort of universal feeling. So that's kind of where it all started.
Wow, I guess the era of convenience sure has stretched and made its mark in today's society. And I thought I was a little bit crazy ordering mayonnaise through Amazon yesterday. So
Yeah, I mean, and that's it, right? Is like we are kind of told that this is this new, more convenient way of doing things when like there's a grocery store right on the corner for us. Like, why are like at least for us, sometimes we're ordering things online. I'm like, what are we doing? Like these shops are walking distance from us, like
yeah,
it's
that's
not
true.
that much more difficult. Um, but also, yeah, I mean, I keep thinking about this quote from one of my favorite authors, Kurt Vonnegut, where he said that as humans, we're put on this earth to just fart around, and I feel like we're losing some of that opportunity to just sort of fart around and, like meet other people out in the world, which is one of the things that sort of brought the short full circle for me when I was writing it was what are we lacking in this convenience culture? What is the thing that we are now deprived of that maybe we don't realize we're deprived of? And it's human connection, like the more technology infiltrates every aspect of our lives to make things so much easier, we like lose that connection with our fellow humans. And we might miss a lot of opportunities to meet people who can really impact our lives or who have fundamental connections and understandings of our life experience, like the characters that I wrote in the film, that can just really make life more dignified.
Very, very true. So, how did you want to create this narrative based upon, morbid ideas, as people could actually describe it?
Yeah, I mean, I in life I have a very, darkly comedic sense of humor. I handle a lot of heavy topics with not insensitivity, but brevity, like I think like sometimes the easiest way to deal with something difficult is to laugh about it. And so, this pursuing this film as a comedy and shaping it in that way was, I feel like the best way of getting it across. I feel like comedy is a very unifying thing. It's a very unifying form of expression and art because it's a matter of relating to each other. When you laugh because you understand. It's like it's inherently a form of understanding what that person is telling you and responding through laughter. And so when I was writing this and how I wanted to express this story, I always knew it would be a dark comedy, because I knew I wanted to kind of like poke at that feeling that I feel like many of us are facing every day.
Don't you find dark comedy kind of a little bit difficult and challenging, especially for audiences? Because I want to say they either get it or they don't get it, right?
Yeah. It's definitely challenging, and having been the person who wrote, directed, and edited this film, I brought in a lot of people to, review my cuts so that I could make sure it was landing and resonating in the way that I intended. Um, I think I think the other thing too is you know, for all cinema in all forms, whether comedy or drama, we all come to these films with our own life experiences, and we take out of these films what we understand, whether it's comedy or drama or, whatever. And to me, it's like it's so interesting to see how people resonate with different stories through cinema, because it's a great opportunity to teach someone something new about a point of view, a person, a culture, a story and experience. But it's also, we still bring ourselves to each of these stories. So we take away what we understand and hopefully open up more understanding for something that we might not know, or might not relate to right out of the gate. And that's what I love about the art form of film is you have this opportunity to tell a story from a very specific perspective, but one that can be, like received in such a universal language that it's a way of like creating new understanding. So yeah, does that answer your
It
question?
does. It does. And it made me curious to want to know is that because you premiered this at Sundance before, and I'm sure certain people came up to you afterwards, what kind of reactions did they share with you?
Yeah, I mean, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. A lot of folks have responded, citing that they really connected and found it funny. And but also I had people come up and talk about how it made them cry, just like seeing that sort of pure human connection that was so well performed by my lead actors, Deanna Rooney and Martin Starr. They just had such great chemistry on screen, and also they just really instilled that like sort of lonely character that I wrote for each of them and showed them finding this connection and community for the first time, at such a pivotal moment in this woman's life or death. And I think that resonated with a lot of people. Like I find loneliness to be such an interesting and challenging emotion that humans deal with. It's something that can create just really interesting versions of ourselves, and so seeing like a moment of loneliness healed in some way has been like really resonating. And I think a lot of everyone has come up with me with some sort of shipping story or shipping mishap that they've dealt with, whether it be Amazon or any other of like the shipping companies that outside of USPS. Everyone seems to love USPS, so no problems there. But at least for now. But yeah, it's the response has been really positive, and I think the interesting thing is, I wrote this about end of life care and using end of life care as the sort of designing principle for the story. Like this was the sort of the setting and the avenue that I wanted to tell this broader story through. And I feel like a lot of people have been coming up to me sort of seeking some sort of political activism around end of life care, which was not necessarily the intent with the short. But like I do believe end of life care should be available. I think it's important for terminally ill people to be able to manage their own care, and make that decision for themselves, especially if they are facing a very painful passing. But being some sort of advocate for death with dignity and being some sort of political statement in support of it, that's like not the intention of this film. So it has been interesting seeing people like really get into the political nature of it. But yeah, it's that wasn't the centerpiece of our story.
No, yeah, you're absolutely correct. I didn't see it as a centerpiece of the story because I found the humor that you simplified the end of life care, that as if it was just like a package of Theraflu, being delivered to. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know how this actually works. If you just get a packet of powder and just pour it into water and drink it and it works within 15 minutes. I don't know. But I'm assuming that's not how it really worked.
I mean, it's not how it works. The it is true that now in certain states you can have it shipped in that way. But yes, I did simplify the processes to getting to the end of life care because I was like, this is a short film. We don't need to show her, two like psychological review appointments 48 hours apart. I like started writing those into the short film and I was like, this is so exhaustive and nuanced and an audience is just gonna shut down, because it is, it's a very controlled substance, obviously, and it's a very controlled program in that they do a like 48-hour check-in between psychology appointments to make sure that you are like making this decision in good conscience and yada 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 yada. So there's a lot more that leads into you saying yes, I want the pill, but in terms of just like the format of a short film, it just was a little too much. But it is true. I mean, you do often, when people do seek the end of life care, they do set up, like a morgue and the morgue coming through and like picking up the bodies, and because you can kind of schedule it,
Hmm.
so that is a real thing. And what kind of led me to setting that up um, as a through line in the story was just trying to imagine what it would take if you were dying alone completely. Like if you had to set up you know, your own remains removal, and what that would look like. So that's where some of that comes from in the film.
Oh, I had no idea. Funeral services do pickups like that at someone's home.
Hospice is usually, or homes where they are, providing
Mhm.
hospice care. That is all possible. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you mentioned previously about your cast, their chemistry. So tell us about the process on scoring Deanna and Martin Starr, for your film.
Yeah. So Deanna's a good friend of mine. We were introduced a couple of years ago by some friends who both said, "Hey, we feel like you two would work really well together." And they were right. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for them. Setting Deanna and I up as potential collaborators because it became real. So I wrote the part completely for Deanna. I had no one else in mind. I wrote it completely knowing their sensibilities and everything, and I was just like very excited to work with them in this capacity. And then as for Martin, I worked on a project with Martin early last year, something that he was directing. And I just helped out for a few days. We share a producer, Clint, who produced the short and produced Martin's project. And and when I was writing this, after having just worked with Martin on something, I started thinking, oh, I was like, he could be really great for this. And I kind of wrote it with him in mind, not thinking, oh, he'll definitely do it. He'll definitely have time. But sure enough, like the time came when I said, okay, let's just do this thing. And I sent it to Clint, and Clint sent it to Martin, and Martin was like, love it, let's do it. So and so it was great. I mean, this was a, zero budget short film. Let's shoot it on a weekend with whatever resources we have. everybody worked for free, and like it was just one of those like really scrappy productions that it was just so community founded, you know. So that was very exciting for me.
How did you pull it off so quickly? Like having someone volunteer their house and a van and quickly decorate the van on the side.
Listen, I am surrounded by incredible and talented people. I mean, the house is my apartment. Like it's me and my husband's apartment. I was like, we're gonna shoot in here, just so you know. And he went, okay, what is that gonna entail? And I was like, you and the dog are gonna be gone for a couple days. Sorry. But we shot in my apartment, you know, my locations. My one of my producers, Dave, is a locations manager, and he lent us his house. He also, I mean, he knew, you know, he works with a transportation guy who lent us a van. Our gaffer lent us a van. Dave worked with like the printing folks over at Warner Brothers to get us some like those decals that we put on the sides of the van. I
Hmm.
mean, essentially, you know, we found out Martin was available on a Thursday and we shot the following Saturday. You know, it was like 9 days to spin up an entire production. And so, you know, we went through the script and I tried writing it small. But when I broke down the script, I was like, okay, these are the things I'd like to have, but these are the things that are essential to sell the story. And we just prioritized those things and just, you know, begged, borrowed, and stealed, and anything else, like I just paid for hard costs, like the decals, like the, you know, like Martin's wardrobe that's embroidered and everything. And yeah, I mean, it everybody everybody asked around for favors, and it was again like just this huge community effort that was very special. So very grateful to my team for making it work, because I mean you have to have a super talented group of people to make that happen, and I really scored the most talented team. So very grateful.
Well, you pulled it off. Chelsea, I've taken a lot of your time already, but we have to wrap this up with what's up next on your plate.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm still kind of like trying to keep my feet on the ground, and the fact that you know, that like our team has been able to get into these two premier festivals. And I mean the hope is to do a feature next. So I have a few scripts that, you know, I'm cleaning up and have been sending around. So we'll see. Hopefully one of those next.
Well said. Well, Chelsea, I have to admire the fact that as a scrappy filmmaker, as you described, you made it to the two largest film festivals, and I have a feeling that this will get into more big film festivals down the road because it is hilarious, and I get the dark humor in this film. So, Chelsea, thank you very much for speaking to us about Out for Delivery, and you enjoy South by Southwest. All right,
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really excited. I've never been before, so it should be fun. Thank you.
it'll be loads of fun. Thank you very much. Next time.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Bye bye.